Alright, let's get talking about the 4 key changes spells in the 2024 Player's Handbook. Magic is one of the main elements that make D&D so cool. Whether you're pulling the weave, strumming along to the words of creation, or drawing forth the divine power of your chosen deity or patron, using spells can give you the ultimate power fantasy, the ability to literally reshape the world around you. That's why the 2024 Player's Handbook is bringing you over 100 pages of spells. You'll find boosts to classic favorites, popular spells from sourcebooks being ported to the core rules, and even some brand new spells. In this article, we'll discuss some of the overarching changes you'll see with spells and even show you some of the new spells introduced in the 2024 Player's Handbook. Okay, so kind of where we're expecting to be at is they're going to update a ton of spells. They're going to add specifically probably some divinity spells and probably just make things better. There's a few spells that have always been classic terrible, so they're probably going to try to buff them up. We'll see how it goes. I have mixed feelings always on what spells they're picking, but we'll see. Okay, one of the first things that long-term D&D players will notice when perusing the almost 400 spells in the 2024 Player's Handbook is that many of your favorite spells have been buffed up. Your healing spells will keep you and your allies on your feet longer to reflect the cost of your action or bonus action and your spell slot in order to use them. For example, Cure Wounds is now a base 2d8 plus your spell casting modifier, and Healing Word similarly has a base of 2d4. Well, thank God we can just look at these. Originally it's a 1d8, and Healing Word was a 1d4. And it's not just dice increases, main spells receive new element of functionality. Prayer of Healing, which takes 10 minutes to cast, now grants the benefits of a short rest to up to 5 creatures in addition to restoring 2d8 hit points. Okay, I think these are good. These are good buffs to healing. This might be a thing that we might see change, so I was wondering if they're going to try to focus on, is healing. Healing in D&D is really weird, where it's sort of like you get knocked out, you get healed, you get brought back up, you go back in the fight, you get knocked down, you get healed, you get brought back up. So I wonder if they're trying to make a level of, actually, it's okay to stay alive throughout the whole fight as fighting, and not just have specifically like Healing Word because it was 60 feet and Cure Wounds is a touch, just to be like, well, it 1d8 versus 1d4, well, they're both going down no matter what. I might as well just use Healing Word, boom, hit them, and they come up with 1d4, who cares, right? Like, they're already going to go down no matter to the next, like, flick of the wrist. Well, now Cure Wounds is 2d8, plus my spellcasting modifier. That might be a little better. They can stay up for a bit longer. There might be choices in your healing, especially for a life cleric, to get a bit more bang for their buck. Damage dealing spells have seen several boosts too. Cloud of Daggers used to have some diminishing returns on later rounds if enemies started to avoid your cube of swirling stabs. But that's a thing of the past because now you can use your magic action on your later turns to move the cloud to 30 feet. Similarly, Chromatic Orb has been updated with potential to strike an additional enemy, really embracing the dodge doll vibe or chucking a magically infused spear at your enemies. Okay, cool. This comes from the play. Click to visit my version. Okay, well, sorry. F me. Okay, so these are good. Basic rules, but Cloud of Daggers is too much. So let's go. I'm going to open my Player's Handbook real quick. We're going to go grab Cloud of Daggers and Chromatic Orb, and we'll go double check them and everything and see. Because Cloud of Daggers, you just couldn't move, which made it... It was a fun spell to have, like in your back pocket every once in a while, but it didn't actually get a lot done. So now, blah, blah, blah. When it enters the spell's ear for the first time, or in a turn... first one on a turn, or starts its turn there, boom, it gets hit. That can be really punishing when it just uses a magic action to move it. You move your character, just don't run out of range of it, and don't get hit by your concentration. And Chromatic Orb, which is always a classic spell. I think Chromatic Orb is like a spell I've had players use for almost the whole time. I've always had someone cast a Chromatic Orb once time per D&D campaign, I think. Which is you hurl 4-inch diameter sphere of energy at each creature that you can see within range. You choose damage type, and then make a ranged spell attack and target the target. If the attack hits the target, takes 3d8. So they're saying that if you're like, I guess you can throw it in a line, and in that line, if there's enemies in the way, you can go through them like I guess they're saying, like a dodgeball. Or is it like you hit someone with it and it bounces and hits someone else? That could be really fun too. Those are two really, I think, fun little ways of doing that. So I hope... Oh, really? I just hope either way works for them, because I think either one's really fun. Does sound cool. A number of spells saw little use from 2014's Player's Handbook version, also saw some tweaks to make them more functional and enticing to add your repertoire. Blade Ward, the classic, the baby Blade Ward. We'll read it why it never got literally any use ever. We'll read Blade Ward and see what they did to Make it better. Where's my little baby Blade Ward? Blade Ward. It's your cantrip. You extend your hand and trace a sigil of warding in the air. Until the end of your next turn, you have resistance against bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing dealt by weapon attacks. Well, that sounds great. That's an action only on yourself, which makes it highly useless because you'd rather just do something to kill the thing trying to get you instead of being, well, I'm going to get hit by it, so at least I'll have resistance this time. It can be kind of useful, I guess, if you have a concentration spell up, but most of the time, no one gave a absolute shit about Blade Ward. So, Blade Ward was fairly underused cantrip because it cost an action, only lasted a turn, and only granted resistance to bludgeon, pierce. Oh, there you go, for that one turn. Now, while it still takes a magic action, the cantrip lasts a full minute with concentration and forces all enemies attack you to subtract 1d4 from their attack roll for the duration. Okay, so it's a bit of a different level. I don't know if it's still that good. If it's still a cantrip, it's really good. Cantrip with concentration, I don't know many of them that have that. If it's a spell now, it's interesting. And if you can affect other people with it, it could be really good. Having Blade Ward on another player would be really good if it was like a spell now. Well, we'll see. There are just a few of the changes to some known spells. Be sure to look at your favorite spell. So Blade Ward, if it's a cantrip, it's still like alright, but it's an alright cantrip, and cantrips are free, so whatever. It's easier to find and use your favorite spells. Speaking of looking up your favorite spells, the 2024 makes the process of finding and preparing your spells as a player easier. Oh, thank the sweet gods. Fucking terrible in the original book. Now you're going to flip to the back of the book to see what spells are available for your class. Each class has a designated spell listed in the class description for the class itself in the character class chapter. So if you're building a cleric, the list of cleric spells is right there in the same section as your class feature and domain subclass. Good change. One of the big missions in revisiting spells was to really listen to and address questions and confusions players have around various spells in the decade since the 2014 Player's Handbook was first published. We tightened up the wording and some spell descriptions to make them clearer and more succinct. One second. I think my ear was ringing for some reason. I thought something was outside ringing. Maybe I'm going crazy. Without changing the actual mechanics of the spell. We provide more artwork for the spells in use to give more inspiration for imagining how the spell looks when you cast it. The ritual tag has now been moved to the casting time to make it easier to find since it impacts the casting time of a spell. Good changes. I also think more artwork. The big thing for 2024 Player Handbook they keep harping on in my head has always been they're really caring about artwork. No, I hear ringing. Where is it? Is that my computer? Yeah, I think it's just my computer a little bit making. I think the fans are whirring up a little bit weird. Okay, whatever. Where was I? Oh, yes. They're doing big artwork things. They're doing big artwork changes just to make it so that players are more excited about the artwork and like being able to interpret things and look at things and how they're meant to be seen and how they're meant to be used. And I think that's actually a really good idea for role playing because then players can who are newish to the game or don't understand the fantasy setting or are really good at explaining their own stuff can see an example and kind of mimic and then go off of that. No, it's not my computer. I don't know that noise. I think something outside. Whatever. Weird noise. Besides the point. As an example of changes to spells, the Conjuring familiar spells such as Conjure Fang, Conjure Celestial have been updated to officially reflect popular modifications that were play tested at Unearthed Arcana. The newer version of the spells now give you all the information you need when casting them in the spell description themselves, like what damage they can deal or what the save DC is for their ability. This saves you from cracking open the monster manual to track your conjured creature's info and make them operate more similar to Spirit Guardians or spiritual weapon spells. Really good change. Anything that made you crack open another book as a player, terrible decision every single time. So, making those what they are is good. I will be right back. I need to go figure out what this noise is. My insanity has been completed. There's a fan outside making weird noises. Attached to one of the vent things. I think I just kind of fell into it. So hopefully someone clears it up, or I will be going down after all this to go do it myself. Whatever. Probably no one can even hear it. It's just me going crazy. But it was driving me just crazy enough that I had to go check. Okay. New spell for the core rules. The 2024 Player's Handbook introduced some brand new spells to D&D. Some, like the Starry Wisp cantrip, were included in the Unearthed Arcana playtest, but some weren't and will be making their debut in the 2024 spell list. So those might be really good, or you know how it is. Some of the brand new spells include ties to the known spellcast within the D&D multiverse. Our old pal Tasha has a brand new spell, Tasha's Bubbling Cauldron, which creates a magic cauldron for 10 minutes that you and your allies can reach into and grab vials of common or uncommon potions of your choice. Yo, that could be really good. Interesting. That's an interesting spell. I like this is a spell that I'm just going to put in the interesting department, and we'll see how good it is when it comes out. But it also, that's fun. That's like a fun spell. It could be too good, it could be not good enough, but it's fun, and that's the most important part. Jalarizi, a celestial patron warlock with the distinction of being a non-wizard member of the Circle of Eight, has some powerful namesake spell, Jalarizi's Storm of Radiance. This spell creates a raging 40-foot cylinder storm that deals radiant and thunder damage. It also gives creatures within it blinded and deafened condition, and makes them unable to cast spells with a verbal component. That's cool. That seems like probably it's going to end up in the either really strong or meh department, but 40-foot cylinder storm is fun, no matter what you do with it, right? Popular spells from the expanded sourcebook have now become part of the core spell list. Some, like Toll the Dead, introduced as Xanthars, have gotten to so ubiquitous that you don't realize they weren't initially part of the 2014 Player's Handbook. If you don't know, Toll the Dead is like so fucking popular as like just another spell to use to hit someone. Which is really funny. I like Toll the Dead. Toll the Dead is I think it's for Cleric, Warlock, Wizard. It's like one of those three. And it's pretty much just like a make wisdom saving throw or get hit. Kind of like your sacred flame that you could have. Toll the Dead is really cool. So happy to see that just making its way over, because giving everyone a little bit of necrotic energy is always good. Emanation, Area of Effect. Emanation is a new area of effect, joining known types like cone, line, or sphere. An emanation spell extends in a straight line in all directions from a creature or object and moves with them if the spell duration is longer than instantaneous. Emanation differs from sphere in that the point of order is not considered part of the area effect. Known spells such as Thunderclap and Spirit Guardian are now classified as emanation for their areas of effect. Okay. Good. I think Thunderclap has been one of the spells that I've been always most confused on. The area effect, how it works is, you create a buzz that's going to be here on if you wait, each creature within range of you, other than must throw, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, kind of figure it out. So Thunderclap and Spirit Guardians, I think people could figure out pretty easily. But it's good to see them just say emanation. Now it comes out from you. This is how it works. We're going to keyword it. So there's joining known types like cone, select, line, and sphere, taking the Magic the Gathering approach of we're keywording this. So once you see the keyword, you understand the keyword, we go from there. Why is Asterion right there? So good to see that they're going for emanation. I like this idea. So good to see stuff like that. This spell's fun with almost 400 spells around spread over 100 pages. We only scratched the surface. Blah blah blah. Okay, so very very easy, very quick once over on this one of like, oh, what is this one about? Blah blah blah. It's simple. It is easy, just the spell changes. I thought this was gonna be quick. I'm going to see if they say anything special in here. I want to hear more about emanation.
Spells, there are new spells, and there's been some upgrades as well.
This spell chapter is massive. It has even more spells, again, a number of other higher level spells. There are new ways to use spells, and then brand new spells. Would you like to hear about some of those?
I would love to hear about those.
So a number of the new spells, some of them people saw versions of them as part of the Arcana process. And also some of the new spells originally showed up in books like Xanathar's Guide or Tasha's Cauldron. But even spells that appeared in those books first that now are new spells in the Player's Handbook have often seen upgrades either in functionality or in clarity or both. One whole group of spells that are new to the Player's Handbook are summoning spells. And we took the summoning spells that were very popular from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, imported those into the Player's Handbook, and then upgraded them.
Yeah, there's even more options now, and this is one of my favorite things when it comes to the spells, because it's just immediate. These have stat blocks in them. You don't have to go hunting through the monster manual. You have everything you need within that spell, and there are options within that spell.
And those stat blocks now also have the upgraded stat block format that appears not only in this book's creature appendix, but also in these spells. And so these monsters are going to be easy to use at the table. Most of these summoning spells also now have art, so people will get to see at least some of the versions of critters that you can summon with the spells. And I think these are going to be a ton of fun for people to use at the table.
You know, you can summon a construct, you can summon dragons, you can summon undead. So you virtually anything you would want to summon, and they come with a stat block in that spell.
Yes, and you know, beasts, fae, it goes on and on. Now, because we included these summoning spells, we ended up redesigning the conjure spells that were in the 2014 Player's Handbook. Right. Because in the 2014 Player's Handbook, we had spells like conjure fae, conjure celestial, that sort of thing. And those versions had you fishing for stat blocks in the monster manual, and also, unfortunately, often resulted in a whole bunch of creatures showing up on the battlefield.
Taking up initiative.
Yeah, so what they're saying here is they're like putting all the summon constructs, some of the things just like, instead of doing all that annoying shit, it just gives you kind of a stat block to work with, and then they're going to give you pictures to be like, this is what your picture should look like. I want to make sure I understood that correctly. I was opening my book up. Yeah, that makes sense. And it's good. It's good. Sorry, it makes sense and is good. Making players hunt through my monster manual, or making me have to go look through a page here. If you need help, please come talk to me, because no offense, players don't read monster manuals. They barely understand reading the Player's Handbook. So when they get a chance to have to look at something new, it's going to be hard for them. So giving something easy to understand, that's what you want to give players.
Tended to bog down
for 5e. I don't know. For other games, they might be a little bit better. I'm being 5e very rude right now, but I also like 5e. That's what I play. Also, I just
and so what we did, because this new summoning spells really fill the design niche of bringing a concrete creature onto the battlefield with a stat block, we redesigned all the conjuration spells that were like, again, conjure woodland beings, that kind of thing.
Okay, so yeah, that's what they're saying. Their conjure creatures are just going to become their summoning
really
creatures.
Into not the notion of bringing a concrete creature, but instead summoning these spirits of these creatures that help you in some way. So all of those spells have been redesigned, and people got to see those redesigns in the UA process and gave essentially thumbs up across the board. And so people will get to see
yes, because again, they're simple. We make sure game's simple.
The final versions of those revised conjure spells in the new Player's Handbook. In addition to the new summoning spells, the redesigned conjure spells, all of these other buffed spells, we also have some spells that we brought in and revised in support of some of our subclass design. Here's one example. The spell chapter now has the Dragon's Breath spell, which has appeared in 5th edition before, and we brought that in because we wanted to give it to the Draconic Sorcerer. And so there are a number of spells that have been added that are directly in support of classes and subclasses in the book. Another example of that is the new Elementalism cantrip, which we designed not only to support the Warrior of the Elements in the Monk, but also as an answer to the various elemental cantrips that we have published at different times in 5th edition. And we pondered bringing all of those cantrips into the Player's Handbook, but instead we decided to just design one cantrip that allows you to tap into the different elements to create different elemental shapes and whatnot. We also have fun things like Steel Wind Strike that people have really enjoyed for the Ranger, now a part of the core game, and also spells that people have never seen before, not even in Unearthed Arcana. And these spells...
That's good. They're I think what they're saying here, and something I've been kind of arguing for a lot of, is you need to make your spells support the subclasses, and they're getting into that. So I hope they really lean into that a bit, or change out some stuff where the things that are added are really subclass supporting. Like they have an elementalism spell to boost elemental monk. Like this should be a part of their core set of like, as like a role player, you should have this. Doesn't mean you're always going to use it, or doesn't mean using the best thing, but you should have access to it. So for example, like if someone creates I guess, like, yeah, if you're a light cleric, there should be light-based spells you can act upon because you're the light cleric. Don't know if light cleric's back or not. But if you're the life cleric, not light, you should have the healing spells, which are going to be there. If you're the, I don't know, yeah, like divinity wizard, like you talk about, you should have more divination spells, or spells that are open to divine, because you should be using them. You're the divination wizard.
A number of them are connected to named spellcasters in the D&D multiverse. We've already talked about in one of the videos Yolan's Regal Presence as one of these new spells, but we also have Jolarzi's Storm of Radiance. Jolarzi is one of the Circle of Eight, that same organization of wizards that Mordenkainen and Bigby are parts of, and she now has one of her named spells here in this book. It was also fun to include Jolarzi, not only because we could get one of her spells into the book, she also appears in art, and also, this will be of interest to you, Todd, as a lover of warlocks. Jolarzi is also notable in the Circle of Eight because she is a warlock, not a wizard, and she is specifically a celestial warlock. And her spell is all about channeling this radiant power.
I didn't mean to boo Celestial Warlocks.
Celestial Warlock is awesome. We also have a brand new spell associated with Tasha. We have Tasha's Bubbling Cauldron, a higher level spell that when you cast it, summons up a big cauldron, and you can dip vials into it and get potions out of it. So this will now be the fastest way to get potions is with Tasha's Bubbling Cauldron.
I like that. If you have vials, dip vials, and maybe get like a random potion out of it, that'd be so funny. That could be like so goof. I love that. Cool spell. Make sure the hey testers here, hey D&D Handbook people, real quickly, make sure that the potions expire after a certain period of time, and make sure it's maybe 24 hours at the minimum. At the most, you're letting they can stay around for, because if not, a wizard is going to end a day Tasha's bubbling cauldron, dip all their vials into it, and begin the next day with a fresh suite of potions. Because that's what I would do, and that's what I do with Goodberry. So make sure, or not, or let it be kind of goofy and funny. I don't know, up to you.
Favorites that have migrated into the book, like Toll the Dead, that cantrip is now part of the core game. Synaptic Static.
Yes.
We also have new cantrips that people got to see in Unearthed Arcana, like Starry Wisp and Sorceress Burst. Those have made it into the core game.
Okay,
Mind Spike, Mind Sliver, Ice Knife, Vitriolic Sphere, Word of Radiance. Those are among the spells that have now graduated to being in the game's main rulebook.
Graduated.
We also, again, could probably talk for hours, and won't, about all of the spells that have had significant changes.
And there have been, right? Like, some have had significant improvements. Maybe it's like something to do with action economy or wasn't quite hitting the sweet spot. Do you have a few examples of that?
Well, among my favorites are the improved healing spells. So healing spells have been upgraded, Cure Wounds, Healing Word, and so many others, so that now if you decide to spend your bonus action or action healing, you're going to more often than not feel better about doing so than you did before. We have some healing spells like Prayer of Healing that not only saw that sort of boost, but also now Prayer of Healing with its 10-minute cast lets people have the benefits of a short rest. Now you can only enjoy that benefit once per day. Still, that is a major upgrade for that spell. People are also going to see cantrips like Blade Ward, Resistance, Guidance, having either different functionality or better functionality or both. Guidance, for example, you now choose a particular skill when you cast Guidance on a person, and you then concentrate, and while you're maintaining your concentration, the person will get a bonus to any ability check they make with the chosen skill.
There you go. That's the Baldur's Gate change people are probably looking for. Instead of being like a reaction like it was in Baldur's Gate where you just get to do it, and now it can be like, hey, I'm going to go talk to this person, cast Guidance on me. Your guidance, bro. And, like, let's go.
We've made it so that Resistance and Blade Ward might actually see use in play, since those two cantrips have spent a whole lot of the last 10 years often not being used.
Yeah.
And that is something that was on our mind as we went through the spell list. It was not only seeing what spells are not delivering the power they should be delivering and making sure that they were, and in some very rare cases seeing which spells are over-delivering, but then also seeing what spells have seen very little use, particularly lower-level spells, and what can we do to really just make them more enticing. Then on the other end of the spectrum, when it comes to high-level spells, we're less concerned about how often they're used, because high-level spells are often much more circumstantial. It's also rarer for people to be at the level where they can cast those spells, but it was still important to us to make sure that those spells, when you do get to be high enough level to cast them, or if you're a dungeon master and you're having a monster cast those spells, we wanted to make sure that they were delivering the goods for their level, and we also made sure that those spells were as clear as possible, because some of those high-level spells are complex, and we wanted to make sure that, when you finally get there and are able to cast those spells, you can actually decipher what the heck they're doing.
Right.
We also, in some families of spells, made sort of changes to the whole family. I already mentioned us making changes to the Conjure family of spells. Similarly, we've made changes to the Shapeshifting family of spells. So when you get to Polymorph, Shape Change, True Polymorph, you're going to see that none of these spells give you anymore a second pool of hit points. They now do...
The polymorph nerf. I knew it was coming. I felt it in my bones.
Something that actually I talked publicly about years ago, where I shared publicly that I wished we had made those spells give you temporary hit points, and so now that is indeed what they do. So rather than you essentially having two different hit point pools, your own pool and the pool of the form that you have transformed into, you now keep your own hit points, and instead you get some temporary hit points based on the form that you are shapeshifting into. We have also standardized the wording that we use for some of our spells. So we use shapeshifting wording much more consistently for any spell that involves shapeshifting. We implement the new emanation area of effect. We also are much clearer about how we're using various conditions, damage types, and so forth. I think what people are going to see when they dig into this vast sea of spells is not only a whole lot of fun, some of it new or old fun that has been enhanced, but they're also going to see that the entire collection is simply easier to deploy at the table, whether you are playing a player character or you're the dungeon master playing a spellcaster, because one of the things that is always important to remember about the spell chapter is, unlike, say, the class chapter, which is the biggest chapter in the player's handbook, the spell chapter, which is the second largest, isn't just for players.
Yeah.
The spell chapter is a repository of spells for the whole core game, and the Dungeon Master often needs that part of the player's handbook just as much as the players do. And so there are parts of that spell chapter that are primarily for the DM. A great example of that is a spell like Guards and Wards. It is extremely rare for a player character to ever cast Guards and Wards, but a Dungeon Master's NPC spellcaster might cast it to make their dungeon that much harder to infiltrate.
Well, we do have Bastions now.
Yes.
In the Dungeon Master's Guide, so that might actually get a little bit more use in the future.
Exactly. But even a spell like Guards and Wards, we have fine-tuned in the new player's handbook. Wish has been fine-tuned. The Wish spell now has some new default options built into it, and also the spell has more to say now about what the ramifications could be of you using the spell. And there is even, in the spell now, specific guidance on what happens should you try to use the spell to affect either the City of Sigil or the Lady of Pain. And so please...
I love a Lady of Pain caveat.
Yes, there is a specific Lady of Pain bit now in the Wish spell. And many of the spells, even when they...
Good fun bits to throw in there for them. Okay, I think we're okay wrapping up here. I like the spell changes. They seem like they're just mostly streamlining everything. Hopefully it doesn't, they didn't nerf too much or destroy too much. But I think streamlining everything in D&D is good. D&D has a ton of baggage that needs to be reworked through. Kind of what they're doing right now. In some ways, they're kind of throwing some stuff out, like we talked about with the Ranger. They really destroyed role-playing version of this. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to streamline it into being like, this is what the class can be now, and then we can breathe life into it maybe later down the line. I wish they breathed life into it now and changed it, but things are working on. I think I'm fairly positive on all this stuff so far. I think it looks pretty good. It's just very like they're trying to hit certain zones that they're going into. Seems like the big one of like, we need to streamline this to make this shit not so confusing because, oh my god, we need to make sure to keep that young group of people that have come into it to keep them. And we'll see if it works. In the 2024 Player Handbook brings the return of one of the most distinctive classes of D&D. Almost every aspect of the monk has seen improvements in refinement, from martial arts at level 1 to the new body and mind feature at level 20. In this article, we'll look at all the key improvements of the 2024 monk, and you'll find within the new Player's Handbook, while most of the monk's features saw some improvements or have just been fully replaced, those that remained unchanged or changed very marginally may not appear in this article. Okay. I did not change my scroll functionality. We must go back. We must scroll up to the monk. I was at rogue, and then I scrolled all the way up to fighter because I just scroll really quickly. Okay. Let's go look at our monk. I think monk is going to get a ton of changes. Monk is one of those classes that literally no one ever plays in my group. Just no one ever did. I've seen a monk come up every once in a while, and no one seems to ever have fun playing it. So I'm excited to see how monk goes. And mostly because everyone always picks a warrior the elemental monk, so I want to see how they change that. Okay, martial arts level 1. Changes to the monk come early with adjustments to martial arts. The biggest change is that the monk's martial arts die start one size larger at 1d6 and now go all the way up to 1d12. Oh, thank God. Finally. Okay, good. Next up, monk weapons have been simplified. Now any martial melee weapons with light property qualifies as a monk weapon. All simple melee weapons are now considered monk weapons. Finally, you can use dexterity instead of strength when attempting to grapple or shove a creature. Perfect changes. You can still have your strength one, but your dexterity one, they don't run into each other too much. Again, I could see for grapple or shove, you could keep it either or, so players have to focus kind of in what direction they want to go into. They're kind of narrowing the focus, but I see big changes here being good. I'm really happy here for the D4 to D6 change, just so players can use their fist at the beginning if they want to. Very good. Monk's Focus is a new name for a familiar level 2 feature where you'll find Fury of Blow, Patient Defense, and Step of the Wind. The last two having seen some improvements. Yeah, because everyone used Fury of Blows and no one used... they use these sometimes, but it was Flurry of Blows, not Fury of Blows, sorry. Patient Defense now allows you to take the disengage action as a bonus action without spending any focus points. But if you do spend a focus point, you can disengage and dodge as the same bonus action. That's really freaking good. Likewise, Step of the Wind allows you to dash as a bonus action, no focus points required, but spending one allows you to disengage and dash as part of the same bonus action. Using a focus point for Step of the Wind also doubles your jump distance for a turn, so go ahead, you can definitely clear that gap. That's some really big changes. I like that Flurry. It just doesn't get caught in this. It's just like, oh yeah, you can take 2 unarmed strikes as a bonus action. That's good. That stays. We're not changing that shit at all. That's cool. This new Uncanny Metabolism, level 2. This new level 2 feature allows a monk character to regain all expended focus points when they roll initiative once per long rest. Additionally, when you use this feature, you can also regain hit points equal to your monk's level, plus a roll of your martial arts die. Martial arts die? Oh, you're 1d6. So you get to. So let me get this right. I can get all my key points back, and I get to roll a d6 plus monk level. So monk level plus martial arts die. So I can be 1d6 to 1d12 plus level. Okay, I mean, shit, man. Fuck yeah. I mean, you only get it once, so not too powerful, but level 2, you're moving up in the world. Deflect attack. Formerly deflect missile, as the name suggests, deflect an attack now has more usability. No longer limited to ranged weapon attacks, deflect attacks allows you to reduce the damage of any attack that includes bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing. So you can't grab lightning or fire. The damage is reduced by 1d10 plus your dexterity modifier and monk level. And if you reduce the damage to 0, you can use a focus point to redirect the attack. Depending on if the attack was melee or ranged attack, you can target a creature within 5 or 60 feet respectively and force them to make a saving throw against damage based on your martial arts die and your dex modifier. So here's my thing with deflect attack, and they're saying it here as dexterity instead of strength. Well, then why can't this one be dexterity or strength if you're going to let both players do it? This is now only dex, but this is dexterity or strength? Why are my strength monks not... What happened to my strength monks? I guess they're saying, hey, if you're doing unarmored defense, like they probably still have unarmored defense, I assume, in here, right? What they're saying is you should be focusing on dex and wisdom. If you're using anything else, you're fuck you kind of moment. That's okay. I mean, some classes are going to focus on dex, some classes are going to focus on strength. These are okay things to trade off for each other. They're just, I think, really pushing monks down the dex route, which that's fine, I guess. Our subclasses, we're going to have our 4. We're going to see if I get any of the ones I want. No, but okay. All the monk classes I like, gone. Which is, that's okay. I'm not mad, but it's a little disappointing. The ones I'd want to see if you're gonna ask me for what I want, would be, I liked Kinsei, I liked Sun Soul even though it's not good, and I think those are my 2 big ones. I really wanted 4 Elements and Drunken Master. I like Drunken Master, and I wanted 4 Elements to be good, so I'm happy to see it come back. I know the Way of Mercy, which are called Warriors now and not Ways. They were all called Ways before, I believe. I know Way of Mercy was good. I think people fucking loved Way of Mercy. I like Descendant Dragon just because it was like you got to look. Sometimes I do just want to be... Wait, was that that's the Goku one, right? Kind of the Goku one. And then Drunken Master's funny, and 4 Elements was terrible. And Kinsei wasn't good either. But Kinsei and I'd say 4 Elements were about the same tier. But those are like fun ideas to me. I think Way of the Sun, Soul, and Dragon one were just... I'd want to see that ranged monk class come back. But I understand that they're not going to do everything like that. That's okay. Way of Warrior of Mercy, first appearing in Tasha's Cauldron. Everything the 2024 Warrior of Mercy subclass has seen the fewest changes of all monk subclasses. The familiar features such as Hand of Harm and implementations of Mercy's return, albeit with some minor tweaks. Hand of Healing, for example, is now classed as a magic action, a new action classification to improve clarity of rules. That's fine. You only take 1 action on turn. It can be magic or physical. I guess that's okay. The most significant change is that Flurry of Healing and Harm can now be used number of times per long rest equal to your wisdom modifier. Okay, don't know if that's a nerf or not. I don't know. I can open up Tasha. Let's take a look. Why even say is it a nerf or not? Why even make the option to be wrong when I can just go Way of Mercy 49. That's 47.9. So we're saying it was Hand of Flurry of Healing and Harm. Where is that? And you can now blah blah blah. You can now replace each healing arm without spending for the healing. You can use Hand of Harm without spending. You can still use Hand of Harm. Okay, what's it? Flurry of Healing and Harm. You can now met out Flurry of Comfort and Flurry of Comfort and Hurt. When you use Flurry of Bows, you can now replace each of the unarmed strikes with a use of your Hand of Healing without spending key point for the healing. In addition, when you make an unarmed strike with Flurry of Blows, you can use Hand of Harm with that strike without spending the key points for Hand of Harm. You can still use Hand of Harm only once per turn. So they're saying... Okay, they're just like, we're going to turn down the ability for that thing to ramp up damage really quickly. You cannot use that Flurry so many times specific now. Okay. Warrior of Shadow. The Warrior of Shadow really shines in 2024, pun intended. Oh, we have so much fun here. Let me go scroll down to the Way of Shadow. Way of Shadow. Okay. The Warrior of Shadow really shines in 2024. Shadow Arts has been reworked, allowing you to cast darkness and minor illusions as you can move the field of darkness you create. The feature also gives you dark vision or upgraders if you have it. As you level up, your level of an improved shadow step allows you to spend a focus point to ignore the dim light or darkness restriction of shadow step and make an unarmed strike immediately after you teleport as part of your same bonus action. Okay. I was like, fuck that shit. That those restrictions that were like, really 2024 Player's Handbook has like some specific restrictions because they want you to play, like your DM to play with that stuff more to give you those things. And now they're like, no, you just can do it because it's really hard to plan around that shit, especially if you have a lot of players, and the Player's Handbook doesn't really streamline most people into certain things, blah, blah, blah. So that is okay. Finally, Cloak of Shadows is a new level 17 feature that allows you to wreath yourself in shadows. This effect lasts for 1 minute until 1 minute until you cast an or you end your turn in bright light. While it's active, you have the invisible condition, which persists even if you attack or cast a spell. You can move through occupied spaces as if they were difficult terrain, and you can use Flurry of Blows without needing to spend any focus points. That seems really good at the end there. I'm actually going to open up a book real quick. We're going to compare, if you don't mind. We're going to go look at... So I'm a big Kobold Press fan. I know, sacrilegious to many. I actually don't know if anyone even cares about that stuff. But... tabletop stuff, D&D. So I have my own little folder open here. Have to be there and have to be in my... No, it have to be here. So I'm going to go open up. If I don't find it really quickly, I'm going to move on. All right, we're going to move on. So they did this changes too in Tales of Valiant. And I remember... Here it is. Found it. Never mind. Haha. And I remember really liking it. I thought that it brought a little bit more freshness. I'm just going to go compare really quickly. Because I think people were in... Yeah, it was Monk of the Flickering Dark. So Flickering Dark goes to blah, blah, blah. As a bonus action, you can spend 2 technique points to shroud yourself in 10-foot radius of coiling, flickering magical darkness. You get a bunch of little abilities from it. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I think... So it's to cast a darkness spell. That's been okay. Yeah, I don't know. I think that stuff. I think they're different enough. They're not the exact same, though they're getting close to each other. I just think it doesn't. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't have the cool factor in my head that I'm looking for, but maybe I'm just not as familiar with the way of the darkness, the shadowy, the way of shadow monk that I'm looking for. And I guess they got rid of opportunist, or they're keeping opportunist in Shadow the Monk. Because like that's like the if a creature gets hit, use your reaction to hit them again. If they keep that, I don't know. Yeah, they probably got rid of that. But it just kind of stinks, and they moved on to this. That could be fun. I guess he's being very fun. I just have to, my brain would just have to marinate on it more. The Warrior of Elements has the most number of changes. Has received a lot of new and exciting changes. Elemental Attunement now gives you a 10-foot reach of your unarmed strikes and deals your choice of the elemental damage types. You can also push or pull a target 10 feet on a failed save. On top of that, you learn the new Elementals and Cantrip. As you level up, you gain the ability to create AoE Elemental Burst. Okay, we'll get into it. Because they spend the whole next thing talking about it because guess what? This shit sucked and people were mad about it, so yeah. Warrior of the Open Hand. Okay, Open Hand technique remains largely unchanged with the exception of one of its abilities only blocking opportunity attacks rather than all reaction. Wholeness of Body has been moved to bonus action and now heals a number of hit points equal to a roll of your martial arts die plus your wisdom mod, rather than 3 times your monk level. Fair. However, you can use it a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier per long rest rather than just once. Okay, that's their balancing factor there. The new Fleet Step feature allows you to use Step of the Wind as part of any bonus action that wasn't already used before. Step of the Wind and Quivering Palm has been rebalanced and now costs 4 focus point and does 10 d12 force damage on a failed save, rather than reducing target to 0 hit points and half as much on a successful save. I knew the Open Hand was going to get hit by some of this stuff. Perfectly fine. As they tried to rebalance Monk, they were just really what they did was change the subclasses to make them so overtuned, and they're like, we gotta bring these motherfuckers back down the line. These seem fine. I think they're making Monk just way more movement based, which I think is good. I think the Monk should be more movement, kind of trolling around doing things. I'm only scared they're ending up in barbarian territory where they're going to be trolling through everything. But we'll see. Sudden Strike, a popular Monk feature, has received a rebalance in the 2024 version of this class, and now requires the use of a monk weapon or unarmed strike. If successfully applied, the stun condition now ends at the start of your next turn rather than the end, and it can only be used once per turn. However, if the target succeeds in their saving throw against stunning strike, their speed is halved until the start of your next turn, and the next attack made against them is done so with advantage. Okay, so even if they fail, speed half, you still have advantage. They just don't get the stun condition, which, if you don't know what the stun condition is, it's incapacitated, technically. Can't move, can't do anything. Automatically fails all strength and dexterity saving throws, and you have advantage. So they're keeping the advantage, just not getting the first two, and the speed's halved. So, balance it out just a little bit, but it's still very good. Empowered Strike. With the new version of Key Empowered Strikes, you can choose a damage type of your armor strikes to force damage, handy for getting around those resistances. Okay. That's so we're saying, so instead of like, even if they have magical resistance, you can use force damage. Okay. Interesting. I think magical resistance is going to be a fucking big thing we're going to start seeing more of. Call me crazy. So so we get Key Empowered Strikes one level earlier. Good, because remember, extra attack at 5th, you're just going to get all this 5th levels right down the line, which is going to be good, I think, overall. Probably still have Evasion. Heightened Focus is now a level 10 feature. Before it was... What was Heightened Focus? Or was it a Focus? No, it was not. I don't see it on here. Okay. Heightened Focus is now a level 10 feature that improves several of your... Oh, is now... Okay, not like it was something else. It's now a level 10 feature. Blah, blah, blah. Is now a level 10 feature that improves several of your core monk features. First, Flurry of Bows gains an additional attack, bringing the total to 3 per bonus action. Good. Next up, so this is just upgrading your previous stuff. Next up, Patient Defense now grants temp HP based on 2 rolls of your martial arts die. Finally, when you use Step of the Wind, you can move one willing creature that's large or smaller along with you until the end of your turn. They don't provoke opportunity attacks as you do. Okay, so all those are really strong changes. The monk keeps winning, apparently. Good for him. Good for the monk. Good for them. Self-Restoration. Another new level 10 feature. Self-Restoration lets you avoid the levels of exhaustion you normally accumulate when going without food or water, and at the end of your turn, end the Charm, Frighten, or Poison condition on yourself. Okay, so Charm, Frighten, Poison, end of your turn, gone no matter what. And I guess you just don't gain exhaustion from going without food or water. Those are all really good, actually. Deflect Energy. An upgrade to deflect attacks now allows you to reduce damage of attacks of any damage type. That's cool. I think the ability to like redirect fire would be sick. I thought they were going to slip that into Warrior of the Elemental Monks to make their elemental defense thing. Like they're the elemental warrior, they get the elemental warrior defense stuff. I thought that's where it would go. I guess it's just give it to the bunko. Perfect Focus. When you roll initiative, you're below 4 focus points and don't use Uncanny Metabolism, you immediately regain enough focus points to bring you back up to 4. Perfect when you run the 5th or 6th encounter of the day. Yeah, sounds good. And then Superior Defense. At the start of your turn, you can expend 3 focus points to gain resistance to all damage types except Force. Force is going to be... We're going to see a whole lot of... When there's Force, you cannot resist it. Force is the damage. Until you're good. It's ideal when you're up against high-level enemies that are pummeling you with elemental damage like Ancient White Dragon or a Fire Giant Dreadnought Shield Charge. And then Epic Boon. So I wonder if we still have, Diamond Soul, Tongue of the Sun and Moon. I wonder if those stick around, or those are going to be more like we want feats, or you're going to be training for those things specifically. We'll see. And those are all really kind of almost RP stuff, so I wonder if those are sticking around. We'll see. They've been kind of cutting out RP stuff. I wonder if they want to save that all for background stuff earlier on. We'll see. Epic Boon. Boon of Irresistible Offense. Firstly, increase your strength or dex by 1 up to 30. Next, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage you deal always ignores resistance. Additionally, when you roll a 20 on an attack roll, you can deal additional damage equal to the ability score you increased with this feat. Pretty good. And then Body and Mind. At level 20 as the level 20 feature, the Monk, Body and Mind increase your dex and wisdom score by 4 up to a maximum of 25. Wow. So they moved Perfect Self to Perfect Focus at level 15, and just for fuck it. If you make it all the way, Take 4 in each. That ain't bad. That ain't bad at all, Chief. That's pretty good. That's pretty strong. I really like that they're starting to like settle down and be like, look, you multi-classing scumbags. If you make it a level 20 on your character all the way up, you'll get some cool shit. And I would say this is definitely just a really big thumbs up to the person who's level 20 going, good job, you made it. Take rant +2 to AC or whatever, right? Like, there's +2 to AC automatically just for getting to level 20, have fun, and then go from everywhere else. And then, I don't know, take a boon that increases your dex as well. Yikes. Yikes. Well, that's pretty good. Alright, well, I'll say it. That's pretty freaking good. Let's go look in to see what the big changes are. Actually, I should probably keep up my monk thing, just to go back and forth, be able to compare. I'm also moving down to look at the 4-element monk, the spellcasting monk, which we'll see this is still the spellcasting monk. This feature is the core... Okay, one second. Elemental to blah, blah, blah. I'll read the top part. The Warrior of the Elements monk in the 2024 Player Handbook lets you channel the power of water, earth, fire, and air, and lightning, ash, and thunder to enhance your martial arts mastery. This subclass builds upon the legacy of the way of the 4-elements monk from the 2014 Player's Handbook, but offers a more streamlined approach to unleash your inner elemental warrior. This feature, Elemental Attunement, which is your... I think it was your elemental discipline. So to really get into the description of why the 4-element monk didn't work is because all this shit sucked. That's like the basic reasoning for it. Thumbs up, back, there you go, done. But the real thing was it just didn't have enough like support for itself to get in there to do its things, and you just kind of had to get lucky on saves and stuff. And it just felt kind of meh the whole time you used it. So I think the big thing they're going to try to do here is just not do that. It's like opposite moded, I guess. So this blah blah. So Elemental Attunement. This feature is the core power of the warrior. It infuses your unarmed strikes with elemental energy, extends your reach to 10 feet, allows you to output different types of damage types, and provides the potential to toss your enemies around the battlefield. Monks who want to throw elemental hands as soon as they can, and for as long as they can, will be happy to hear this is an extremely efficient feature. You can enter Elemental Attunement for 1 focus point at the start of your turn, so you're not wasting an action or bonus action. Okay, so you can just, it's a free action, and this state lasts 10 minutes or until you have the incapacity conditions. Okay, so for 1 focus point, 1 FP, you just pop. Okay, at the start of your turn. That's pretty good. That is like a free action. The only thing you're spending is that little resource, which you should have. I don't know, level 3, they said you have like 3 key points. We did key points, change it to focus points now. So maybe you're going to have less than that, but that means 3 times per encounter, you pop it. It does remove some flurry of bow chances, but you have a reach of 10 points. Man, it gets really good really quickly. A disciple no longer... Oh, and you have the one that refreshes all your focus points too. Eesh. Because that would be like, well, I use this many times. Well, it doesn't matter. At some point, if you have like 3, and then you have... What is it? Regain all spending focus points when you roll initiative once per long rest. That's 3, and then let's say you have 3 again, and you just do this. You technically have a bank of 6, really. And then if you really are doing 6 encounters at level 3, and you're not resting, getting a long rest at some point in there, then your DM's being really mean to you. But that's good. That's a really strong level of using this ability. This is a complete redesign from the previous way of the 4 elemental monks in 2014 Player's Handbook, which is about around leaving various elemental disciplines, most of which came in the form of spells. This change was meant to simplify the elemental monk and make their focus point expenditure more effective. Instead of having to spend a handful of points every turn to use your elemental powers, you only have to activate it once, leaving more points to do more fun monk stuff. Okay, so the Battle Master style of this class, that seems to be, we're taking that shit out, but we'll see. Seeing as the Elemental Attunement only works with unarmed strike, this feature means your Warrior of the Elemental Monks will be more likely be an unarmed fighter rather than a monk weapon wielder. Striking out with elemental infused punches kicks will be even more fun for the 2024 monk, as their martial arts size have been upgraded each level. Now level 1 monks dish out 1d6. Their martial arts is maxed out at 1d12 at level 17. So, okay, we'll see changes to that. That's fine. To put in perspective, where they max out at 1d10, they say 1d6 for a long time, or 1d4 and then 1d6 for a long time. So they'll probably just keep the 1d6 chain to 1d8 to 1d10 to 1d12 change. So it'll bounce out quicker, but you'll still be stuck using 1d6 fist for a long time, which is okay. Had a burp. But reach out and grab them. If you're looking to spice things up, the new Grappler feat combines exceptionally well with the Warriors of the Elements Extended Reach and the 2024 Monk's ability to grapple using Dex with the Grappler feat. You get to grapple a creature you hit as part of the same attack action you use to make an unarmed strike. Seeing as being grappled reduces the creature's speed to 0, you can easily hold them out of reach and wail on them with your elemental strikes, which you'll now get advantage on thanks to the Grappler. On top of being a mechanically powerful ability, this adds to the power fantasy of wielding the elements against your foes. You can flavor your grapples to be temporary ice chunks that hold your foe in place, or swirls of air that catch your enemies and prevent them from moving. Yeah, that all seems great. This is the thing, I think, why they really want to give you the grapple with the dexterity is to combine it with all this stuff. This seems like a natural combination. They're even telling you that is the combination we're thinking of. So, good combination. Manipulate elements. This feature gives you access to Elementalism, a new cantrip in the 2024 Player's Handbook. This is the kind of utility knife of your elemental monk and will allow you to channel water, earth, fire, and air into minor effects. You can create a breeze, light candles, and conjure water when you need access to a certain element. Good for setting the mood, but you might need a bit more firepower thinking of burning down fortified strongholds made of stone. Fair. I'm guessing that's what this is going to be. I like that they give you the cantrip to let your monk kind of feel more magical, you know? Kind of give them that prestidigitation-ass thing. Good role-playing stuff. Remember, things in D&D Handbook, it's the thing we were talking about Ranger last time, is that sometimes things are good just for the effect of giving you role-playing abilities. Monk, we see a lot of stuff here that made monks battle versatility really good, and I was going to get into after I finish what were the elemental monk, but now I'll get into how they're doing it. But not a lot of role-playing versatility. From what we've seen in here, they better keep some of that other stuff that we were talking about earlier, such as like stillness of mind, timeless body, and stuff like that, just because or I know the purity body they already kind of put it in here with self-restoration. Just stuff that lets you have some roleplay ass ability, because right now what we're seeing, and maybe the scary thing for Monk right now, we're seeing overall, is that they don't have a roleplay sensibility being built into them like all the other classes kind of got for themselves. So we'll see. They might have added some more stuff. We'll see later on. Whatever. We'll look at Elemental Burst. At the cost of only 2 focus points and a magic action, you'll be happy you'll be happy you've got Elemental Burst for you to break out a flashy kaboomy side of the elemental combat. This feature allows you to detonate a 20-foot radius sphere explosion of acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder. Acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder. What am I missing here? I don't know. Whatever. Targets in the sphere that fail their dexterity saving throws take damage equal to 3 rolls of your martial arts dice, which is a d8 at level 6. Okay, we can actually look at this now. At level 6. Level 5 is when 1d6 came out, so they're actually probably keeping the same exact numbers, and they're just letting you upgrade, or they got 1d6 all the way to level 5, and then level 6 when it goes to a 1d8, which is, we'll see that happen. Okay, cool. While it might not be as damaging as a fireball yet, this is just the beginning of your bursting career. As your martial arts die increase, so too will the damage your output with this ability, maxing out at 3d12 at level 17, which is pretty good. At that point, you'll have enough focus points to chuck more elemental blasts than a major league pitcher. Allows you to detonate. It's probably just once per turn. Monks don't always, expanding your toolbox, monks don't always have to do much to do when they're far away from enemies, or have ways to capitalize when their enemies have bunched up. Elemental Burst solves both issues by giving you an AoE option with a 120-foot range, so feel free to sit in the backlines and blast away if you're low on HP. You also have the solid upside of being able to choose from 5 different damage options each time you use this feature, which can help avoid resistances and capitalize on weaknesses. Yeah, that seems pretty good. Acid, cold, fire, lightning, thunder. Yeah, I don't think that's all the real big ones that we care about. Perfect. That sounds really good. They really, really reworked this whole class. They are not even trying to work with the Battle Master style of the elemental disciplines. Fuck that shit. They're just like, fuck it, explosions. I don't know. The upgrade to your elemental attunement provides a fly speed and swim speed equal to your speed. While it's active, shit, you can fly now. With this feature, you may mechanically give you a fly speed. So in my head, it's so much more. Part of the power fantasy of the subclass is allowing you to imagine your characters incorporating elemental powers into everything they do. And of course, this includes making an ice slide or using jets of fire to propel themselves across the battlefield. Also, thanks to unarmed movement, this means you'll likely have a baseline fly and swim speed of 50 feet when you receive this feature. That's pretty good. And it also means you can fly up and just start raining down explosions on enemies if you want to. Having reached 10 feet on your unarmed strikes plus a consistent fly speed will make you almost impossible to pin down in combat. Plus, you have elemental burst that you can rain down on your opponents from on high. If your enemies ever get too close, you can set the wind dash away. You can even bring your friends along by level 10. By level 10, no flying bison required. Yeah, that's pretty good. That'll be fun, I think. I think that just sounds fun. Elemental epitome. This well-named feature is the epitome of your elemental attunement. It provides a defense, movement base, and offensive boost to your kit, and really makes you feel like a master of the elements. First, you gain resistance to acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage, and you can change which damage type your resistance applies to the start of each of your turns. Okay, so you can have a resistance to all of them, and you can go, okay, I change it to fire, start of my turn, and keep it that way. Okay. Next, your Step of the Wind gets a buff, allowing you to travel 20 feet further while flying or swimming, I may remind you, and dish out elemental damage equal to one of your martial arts die to any creature you get within 5 feet of. Lastly, when you hit with an unarmed strike, you deal extra damage equal to one of your martial arts die once per turn. Seeing as your elemental attunement comes with elemental damage baked in, this extra damage is the same type of the element you've chosen. Okay. If you've ever wanted to ferociously attack with a blast of fire, weather damage like a rock, dance around the battlefield like a breeze, or hamper your enemies with water, the new war... Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it seems good. I like this class. This class seems fun. It seems really, like, fuck up people and be the shun them with fire and ice, and less like the monkey kind of, less monk style of, like, control the battlefield with, like, doing cool stuff. It's like, fuck it, I'm beating the shit out of you, and I'm throwing explosions. I don't give a shit. I'm just getting in there. It seems way more vicious than I would say the monk usually sounds, so that's cool. That's fun. Let's go hear them.
Tell me all about the new things in the monk.
There is so much. When we embarked on creating the new player's handbook, we knew that the monk was going to get a lot of attention.
We had to go redo
Partly because
the monk.
Monk's satisfaction scores over the last decade have often been, unfortunately, a bit low.
Yeah.
And the monk, in terms of actual play numbers, has tended to be low as well. That combination told us this class needs some attention.
Yeah.
Now, every class got a lot of loving attention, but we knew the monk was going to need some deep work.
Like, every class is really important, but monk the most. Because no one played it.
And the deep work that we did in the monk, similar to deep work we did in the ranger, really amounts to this class and the ranger largely being new classes. When you look at the features for the monk, you look down that list, you can see a lot of familiar friends, but also you're going to see some new things. That is evident right away at first level when you dig into the main feature of the monk at that level, martial arts, where you will find out that right away, your selection of monk weapons has been broadened to be all simple melee weapons, as well as martial melee weapons that have the light property. That's going to give you some more flexibility than you had before. And we've also now made it so that you can now make, with this feature, a unarmed strike as a bonus action, regardless of what else you're doing on your turn. We used to have it so that the monk had to set up their bonus action unarmed strike before they could do it. Now you don't need to set up. You just simply have always the option to make an unarmed strike as a bonus action.
That's good.
Now, there's even more going on here than that suggests, because we have...
Did I see that? I just missed that? Nah. Huh. No, I don't think they even said that. Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. So, if you didn't know, I'll go look at the original one. We'll go look at their martial arts. Blah, blah, blah. When you use the attack action with an unarmed strike or a monk weapon on your turn, you can make a one-armed strike as a bonus action. They're just saying, no matter what action you do, you can then punch someone.
The rules glossary, before they could do it. Now you don't need the setup. You just simply have always the option to make an unarmed strike as a bonus action.
You could drink a potion. I think most potions become a bonus action, but you could, I guess, drink someone a potion might be an action. You can do something. Yeah, you can just do whatever. You could, technically, the real answer here is you could cast the explosion spell and then punch a dude in the face if you want to, run up and then bash him once.
We have,
which is funny,
redesigned the unarmed strike itself. And this is a redesign that affects all characters, but will be especially felt by monk players because of how often monks make unarmed strikes. So it used to be in 2014 that the unarmed strike was just a way for anybody to deal some damage if they were without a weapon.
Yeah.
Now, monks and a few other characters were happy to make unarmed strikes because they often were very effective at them. What we've now done is we have made it so that when you make an unarmed strike, you now have 3 options of what it does. It can deal damage, like it did before, or you can try to initiate a grapple, or you can try to shove your target. Really what we've done is we've taken 3 different things that used to exist on their own in the game, dealing unarmed damage, grappling, and shoving, and we've combined them all into your unarmed strike.
You've kind of weapon mastered unarmed strikes, basically.
And we did this for everyone so that you had sort of a single place you could go to for the cool options for your character when you are throwing down with your fists, or you're wrestling, or you're just trying to push someone back. But we also wanted to make it so that the monk could really benefit from this, because this means, unlike in 2014, anytime the monk is making an unarmed strike, including as a bonus action, that unarmed strike could be dealing damage, or it could be starting a grapple, or it could involve shoving somebody. That means the monk has an amount of tactical versatility that is with their unarmed strikes, which is akin to the tactical versatility that our weapon users have who are using weapon mastery.
That sounds good. I like these. I think this is a good change. This is a smart change. Overall benefit of, I think, again, we're talking about D&D's big role here to simplify language. We're seeing a bunch what we're chatting about. And so now, also about finally you can use your dexterity. So what they're saying is whenever you go into a punch, whenever you hit with a punch, you can do grapple, shove, or just the damage, right? And the moment you go to do that, you can move to grapple or shoving. You can now use dexterity. So monks now have this flexibility of breath. And now that like grappling is not as trash,
and a whole lot is
it'll be useful,
fun
actually.
hanging out in the unarmed strike itself and how it then combines with the monk's various abilities that use the unarmed strike. And that is evident right away in the martial arts
You
feature.
can just be pushing someone all around the map.
Yes. And also, boom, bonus action starting a grapple.
Yeah.
Later on, as monks are able to get more and more unarmed strikes on their turn, each of those unarmed strikes could be a different one of these options.
Yeah.
You could be shoving one person, starting a grapple with another, punching them, kicking away the other person with a shove. It is really cinematic and exciting in actual play.
Yeah.
The monk, through this martial arts feature, can now use their dexterity rather than their strength to set the damage
dexterity.
passing through a single feature, and in this case, it's the martial arts feature. Whereas we have other classes where damage is instead routing through different weapons, it's routing through different...
I think I mostly understand the monk. I think, or the elements we could talk about for a while, but I'm not that nervous about it. I think all this stuff seems fine. I don't think I have to go over actually much more of the monk stuff. I think I'm fundamentally understood where we're at with them. Monks seem really good. So going over all of our stuff, there's our this game DJ stuff that I listen to. Kind of looking at this, we know we went through all these, so we're looking at our 4 key changes in our monks. All this is to, I think the monk seems like a much better redesign in Fey Ranger. And I think they're kind of actually doing the same thing, and it just feels more monk styled. Where the ranger doesn't feel as rangerish, it feels like the hunter. Hence the focus on Hunter's Mark. It doesn't feel like the ranger in the sense of the word ranger, we're not like, how do you think of the definition of the word ranger, like in your brain? It's almost like, I think of like a park keeper or something interesting like that, or looking at countryside. Someone on the countryside, this is like a hunter, someone who's hunting and killing things specifically over and over again. And it's less of the focus on actually like the ranging style of keeping the park safe and stuff like that, or a park keeper or something, or someone who has the wilderness in their best interest. Where the monk, though the changes aren't RP focused, still feel like the monk. Though I would say they're starting to move away somewhat from the level of this kind of like movement. I think they're keeping the movement base and also just adding like, instead of making it that like, oh, I'm having one with my key, because that should be an RP focus specifically and not infused into probably the game itself. You should make that your own thing outside of it. You can be the monk who's just a mad person who punches people. And I think they're trying to move away from that and let you get more breadth of stuff. But cool stuff. I like it overall. Not like, I'm not like fawning over it or anything, but it's fine. I'm like thumbs up to them. I think they did a good job. I'm excited to see the big things now. I'm excited to see is I know I have the Bard here. I'm going to probably skip this one, the College of Dance Bard, Unleash Killer Choreography, and probably just hop to doing and hitting these two because they're next to each other, and then going back to do College of Dance Bard once I look at 2024 Bard, and I can kind of look around. But I'm actually really interested in just seeing background and origins and the species. I want to see what their changes here are and see if those can balance out the RP problems we're starting to see in the Ranger area. With that being said, we'll hop on back over to look at our video game DJ.